We are in chapter 25 of Proverbs. We are at verse 12. We just heard that a word aptly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. Now in verse 12, we hear like an earring of gold or an ornament of fine gold is a wise man's rebuke to a listening ear. When someone says, "You're wrong," generally our first reaction is, "Ah!" Here it's saying, when you have somebody who is experienced and wise and you recognize their wisdom and you listen properly, when they say, "No, this is not the way to do things. Let me help you. Here's how you should do it." Instead of reacting with anger, "How dare you?" you should react by thinking, "Oh, thank you. You just rescued me from a lot of trouble. You really helped me out. Thank you." And you treasure those words. It's one of the things that you hear from someone who has lost a parent, that they would so much want to hear them again and speak with them. Part of that is because they trust their parents and they know their parents have wise words. I, as a young pastor, would go to my dad to receive wisdom. When I sought my wife's hand in marriage, I talked to my dad because I knew he was a wise man. And if I was doing something wrong, he would rebuke. And if I was doing something right, he would encourage. Let's move to the next one. Verse 13. Like the coolness of snow at harvest time is a trustworthy messenger to those who send him. He refreshes the spirit of his masters. So here it says, I'm going to just read the footnote here. Probably a drink cooled by snow from the mountains. It did not snow at harvest time, and you don't want it to. So a cool drink, like iced tea when you're out working hard, right? That's what it's saying. So very refreshing is the knowledge that you give your message to someone and it's going to get to its destination. And it's going to be the message you actually sent, right? A trustworthy messenger. So if your message is, "Will you marry me?" you certainly don't want someone to come and give the false message to somebody, right? Or, "We're going to have our wedding on this date, come." You don't want them to get the date wrong or not show up at all or show up late. Right now, my wife orders things through the mail, and it is very refreshing to her when they arrive on time or even early, and she can use them in a timely manner. We'll go to verse 14. Like clouds and wind without rain is a man who boasts of gifts he does not give. You're hopeful when you see clouds and it's windy out, and my son Luke likes to say, "It's going to rain." He's a weather forecaster. And that's how the farmers are, because they need rain for the crops. We know this quite well here in Missouri, where we depend upon the rain coming in a timely fashion. So if you see clouds and you see wind, maybe it blocks the sun a little bit, but it's highly disappointing, and it certainly is not helpful. In fact, often it's drying and just not helpful, which is the same as a man who says, "I'll do that," and then is not able to do it. "I can help you out," and then is unable to function. A worker who claims that they can take care of a problem and then the problem never gets solved. Okay? It doesn't help out at all. It leaves you worried in a famine. Moving on to the next verse. 15. Through patience a ruler can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. Jesus tells the story of the woman and the judge, and she just keeps knocking on his door and demanding. And finally the judge says, not because he wants to do what's right, but because he's not a righteous judge in the story, he says, "All right, I'll do it." Rulers may not react at first, and so you wait. You give them time to think, to change their mind. You stay present. You continue to plead your case, and eventually, maybe you succeed. There's a movie called Amazing Grace, obviously named for the song, about the abolition of slavery in England, and one of the leaders of parliament who brought that about. And basically, he spent 40 years patiently trying again and again and again, working to get slavery abolished, and finally, it happened. Well, the second half is interesting. And a gentle tongue can break a bone. Not a literal statement, right? But when we turn evil with good, when we return to someone a gift when they've been trying to hurt us, it's almost as if we've smacked them. Jesus says it's like pouring hot coals upon their head. You could have multiple interpretations of that. But here certainly the interpretation is it has the power, greater power than you think, to change and disrupt everything, to break a bone. Okay? It isn't always the loud and boisterous and angry which causes change. Sometimes it's the peaceful protest or the soft word. Let's go on. Verse 16. If you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it and you will vomit. Seldom set foot in your neighbor's house. Too much of you and he will hate you. Clever proverb. So if you overeat, and if you overeat honey, even though honey is good for the body, it's supposedly a food that you can eat, and if you just eat honey, you can survive, even without any other nutrients. But if you eat too much, it disrupts your stomach and you throw up. Well, too much of a good thing is too much. And too much time spent with your neighbor is too much too. And so your neighbor likes you, but there's a proper amount of time to be there and not a proper. The old saying goes, visitors are like fish. After 3 days, they start to smell. If a man is married, his wife may not want to see his friends all the time. Maybe she wants to spend some time alone with her husband. If husband and wife are newly married, maybe they don't want mother-in-law over all the time, right? Maybe, and I may remove maybe here, it is a good thing that they have some time to settle in as family. So though your presence is a gift in a certain amount, in an extended amount it becomes a curse. So unless it's your spouse, take some breaks. All right, we're going to stop there and have a happy Thanksgiving.